Hey, everybody in Call of Duty land. This is Sub1 Katie once again, bringing you a little bit of insight on what's going on. A lot of you have probably seen by now Caps' video. It's from Caps Locked on YouTube, shared around Twitter a bunch. If you haven't seen it, I definitely suggest checking it out. I will have a link in the comment below regarding it and a link to it so you can go check it out for yourself. But he does a very good expose. I guess expose is the right word. Expose of cheaters and how people are actively cheating in Call of Duty right now today. And the biggest response that I've seen and that I've heard people talk about with regards to cheating is why it doesn't Ricochet work. Why can't they make an anti-cheat that works? And I think it has to do with Call of Duty and their approach to the anti-cheat when it first came out. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But before I get into that, once again, check out Caps' video if you haven't seen it. And remember, my dev experience is not in Call of Duty. I did not work for Activision. I never have. So this is all just from the outside looking in and looking at the information they've given us and trying to piece together what's going on. And so this is what I think is the reason why Ricochet is as relatively ineffective as it has been. So once you've seen Caps' video, you're wondering what's going on. I want to bring your attention here. This is the Ricochet announcement blog from October 2021, just prior to the launch of Vanguard. And I want to bring our attention to this section of it. So they talk about Ricochet and they're going to stop cheaters. What is Ricochet anti-cheat? And here is the important part. It says, number 2, Call of Duty adds kernel level drivers. So this is a kernel. So this is kernel level. All right. They did put it where it's supposed to be to stop cheating. I want to make that pretty clear. And from everything I've heard, it exists where it's supposed to exist. And when it is functioning properly, it does its job. And I'm going to point out that most of the time, people that are rage hacking, like blatantly 360 aimbotting, they get booted pretty quickly. All right. The rage hacking is aside from the last few days, a really minor thing in Call of Duty. It's the subtle hacking that's talked about in Caps' video. And here's the important part. Number 3, protecting your privacy. I'm going to give my commentary after I explain what this means. In its initial rollout on Call of Duty Warzone, the kernel level driver will only operate when you play on PC. That's fine. Cheats don't generally exist on console the same way they do on PC. It wouldn't do any good. The driver is not always on. Problem 1. The software turns on when you start Call of Duty Warzone and shuts down when you close the game. Plus, the kernel level driver only monitors and reports activity related to Call of Duty. Okay. If you haven't gotten to that point yet, this is what that means. When you boot your computer up, Ricochet is not on. It's not active. When you load your Call of Duty game, either through Steam or through Battle.net, the first thing that happens is Ricochet boots up, checks your system, verifies that everything is good, then tells the game, tells the game it's okay to boot up. The game boots up, and in you go. And the anti-cheat is running. If at that point you load cheats in, Ricochet will detect it, block the software from loading, and close your game and probably ban you. Okay? But here's the problem. What happens if you load the cheats first? This is what the cheat providers have figured out and why Ricochet is not working very well. If you load the cheats first, you can force Ricochet to close, and then you can spoof the authentication to the game itself and have the game believe that Ricochet is running. It boots up, your cheats are active, Ricochet is not, and you're able to get in there and load your cheats and do all the things that people are doing. The other side of Ricochet is they do have a server-side set of software. So in theory, it eventually detects flying cars and flying people and stuff that isn't right. And I have some theories about how that works and what it does. And to me, it's not relevant, right? Like, that's not part of the immediate conversation. So maybe another video I'll speculate on some of those things. But for the specific PC kernel level driver, they're basically defeating it at the start, and it's because of this last line on why it's possible. Plus, the kernel level driver only monitors and reports activity related to Call of Duty. Now, you're going to have to use your memory and go back to this time. And a big concern when Activision announced a kernel level driver is an always on driver has absolute command, control, and monitor and reporting of everything you do on your computer. Like, depending on how it's built and what permissions they give it, it could do anything, right? It can watch everything you do and report it all back to Activision. And I think the big concern at the time was our privacy, right? Do we really want Activision corporate to monitor what we search for and then feed us bundles related to our searches, or identify that we're spending time in a competing game subreddit and maybe give us easier lobbies, or, we spend a lot of time in the Call of Duty subreddit and it says, oh, you're not going to go anywhere, so it gives us harder lobbies, right? Those are all possibilities that could exist if it monitors everything you do, right? And so the important thing to remember is that this was designed from a privacy standpoint to not be always on. It was like a way to appease the people who didn't trust Activision, rightly or wrongly, right? There was a lot of people, especially around the launch of Caldera, and to be honest, through to now, right? Like, a lot of people don't trust Activision as a corporate entity. And if you told them that, hey, from the minute you boot your PC up to the minute you shut it down, it's going to monitor everything you do, I think a lot of people are very concerned about that. And so this anti-cheat was designed with that concern in mind, which is why it turns on and off related to your usage of the game. I think, unfortunately, we're at a point where the trade-off isn't working, right? Because that authentication has been defeated. And I think that the next step, the only real step to solve this problem, is for the kernel level driver to be an always on first boot system. So the first thing it does when Windows starts up is it loads the anti-cheat. And from there, everything you do is under the umbrella of it. And just like Valorant, they do this with Valorant, and Valorant has a very good, very well respected anti-cheat for this reason. If you mess around with software you're not supposed to have on Valorant, like on a system with Valorant installed, the anti-cheat on Valorant will detect it, right? And it knows you're messing with it. Now, is it perfect? No. Are there privacy concerns? Absolutely. But I think for the playability of the game, if you're going to play on PC, I think it's the trade-off that we're at the point we have to make. It needs to boot up first. It needs to monitor everything you do. And if you force close it, you have to reboot your system before you're allowed to start the game again, just like Valorant does. And I think that's where we need to go. But I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, kind of point this out, because I'm seeing the question come up again and again and again. Why doesn't Ricochet do its job? It does its job when it's running, but it's just not able to run against the current level of cheats and the way that they function. And that's just an unfortunate side effect of the privacy-based design choice that Activision made at the beginning. So that's what I have for you today. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I will post Caps's comment as well, or Caps's video. Any questions, shoot me a holler, and I will respond to it. All right, you guys have a good one. Catch you next time.